Welcome to this explainer. Look, we need to talk about a massive shift in technology today, the federal government's urgent warnings about AI agents. The timeline for securing these autonomous systems just went from someday to right now.
Now, this quote completely reframes how we need to look at autonomous software. We usually get so caught up in the magic of AI taking actions on its own, but this highlights the terrifying reality of poor governance. Think about it. If an AI agent is making decisions, querying data, and triggering transactions without a crystal clear, verifiable chain linking it back to a real, proven human being, you don't actually have an autonomous system. You simply have an unaccountable, unattributed rogue agent running wild on your network.
So, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll tackle the agentic AI problem. Then we'll establish why agents are actually bounded extensions. From there, we'll build out our chain of trust through Layer 1, human proofing, Layer 2, strong authentication, and Layer 3, bounded delegation. Finally, we'll talk about fixing the broken chain.
All right, part one, the agentic AI problem. Let's see why the Five Eyes intelligence nations are sounding the alarm.
Just so we're all literally on the same page here, let's define what these high-speed systems actually do. When we talk about agentic AI, we aren't just talking about your standard chatbot answering trivia questions. We're talking about systems built to take autonomous, sequential actions across multiple tools, sensitive databases, and really complex networks. And the urgency from top cybersecurity agencies like CISA and the NSA stems from one chilling fact. These systems are already inside federal infrastructure, long before the governance frameworks meant to control them are actually finished.
Here's the thing. The entire industry keeps asking about the identity assurance level, or IAL, of the agent itself. But actually, scratch that, it's a human-proofing construct. Software cannot be biometrically verified, meaning we've been trying to solve the completely wrong problem. The correct question we absolutely must ask is, who proofed the human controlling this agent, and how exactly is their authority securely delegated to the software?
Moving right along to part 2, agents are bounded extensions. Let's unpack the authorization chain.
You really should think of an agent not as some independent robot, but as a hyper-fast proxy that absolutely requires a boss's signature for every single action. Think of it like giving an eager intern the corporate credit card. They don't own the funds, right? They're just authorized to use them for a very specific task. An agent holds zero independent authority. Everything it does, accessing systems, making decisions, is a scoped, time-bound delegation from a human principle. If it acts only because a human allowed it to act. That brings us to Layer 1, human proofing. It's time to root out the risk.
This right here is exactly why standard commercial security, stuff we call IL2, is fundamentally broken when federal networks are at stake. To survive adversarial challenges, you need the highest identity assurance level, which is IL3. This means no more uploaded documents or probabilistic guesswork. It demands actual biometrics collected by a trained representative. Because when federal benefits or defense network queries are on the line, an unverified claim is literally a disaster waiting to happen.
Think about the scale for a second. An unverified claim given to an AI agent instantly fans out, like wildfire, into massive multiplied risk. A weakness that seems kind of minor at a human scale becomes infinitely more dangerous at agent scale. If your foundation is rooted in IAL2, which is basically an unverified claim, then every single one of the thousands of downstream actions that the agent takes simply inherits that exact same uncertainty.
Okay, let's look at Layer 2, strong authentication, securing the front door. Now, proofing a human is completely distinct from authenticating them. Making sure the person logging in right now is the exact same proofed individual from Layer 1 requires Authenticator Assurance Level 3, or AAL3. In plain English, that means we are abandoning weak passwords and SMS text codes for physical, hardware-based security keys, things like PIV cards or FIDO2 tokens that physically cannot be phished or stolen by malware.
And guys, this is the terrifying reality of a weak front door. All the biometric proofing in the world is completely wasted the second a hacker bypasses the login and takes control of the AI. When a human opens a delegation session for an agent, that is the highest leverage moment in the entire chain. A single session can authorize an agent to operate at machine speed for hours. If you protect that crucial moment with just a password or an SMS code, an attacker who steals that credential instantly controls a massive army of automated actions.
Which takes us to Layer 3, bounded delegation, how we actually control the agent. To build an architecture that actually defends you, your delegation must strictly follow these 4 unskippable steps to ensure the agent only does exactly what it was told to do. First, it must be bounded by specific tasks. Second, it needs cryptographic tokens that downstream systems can trace directly back to the human. Third, every contacted resource must strictly enforce that validation. And finally, there must be an immediate, real-time kill switch. This creates an absolute ironclad defense. If the agent hits a wall or encounters a task outside its guardrails, it halts. It goes back to the proofed human. The agent should never ever try to guess its way forward, and it should certainly never request elevated privileges on its own. No grant means no access. That is the non-negotiable operational floor of safety.
Finally, part 6, fixing the broken chain. Let's look at the reality of the field. There's a massive 80-point gap between pilots and production. And no, it's not because the AI isn't smart enough. It's because organizations are realizing their security chains are completely broken. Research from 2026 shows a staggering 85% of enterprises are running agentic AI pilots, but only a tiny 5% have actually moved them to production at scale. Why? Because only 18% of security leaders have high confidence that their current identity systems can handle agentic identity safely. The infrastructure just isn't there yet.
78%. Just let that sink in for a second. That number represents the percentage of AI agents involved in 2025 and 2026 security incidents that were operating with significantly broader permissions than they actually needed. Over-permissioning is the glaring symptom of a completely broken delegation layer. When you don't have bounded delegation, the agent just inherits everything the human can do, and the blast radius in the event of an error or an attack becomes, well, catastrophic.
So what's happening? Well, without the right infrastructure, teams are basically handing the AI the human's master keys. This leaves zero audit trail and no way to revoke access without entirely nuking the human's account. This is the ultimate example of a broken chain. You have no hardware-attested authentication, you have an agent inheriting the full permission surface of the human, and every single action the agent takes is logged as if the human physically typed it on a keyboard, even if that human is sound asleep.
So listen closely to these 5 questions, because this is your practical blueprint for defense. If your identity provider's answer is even slightly vague on any of these 5 points, your chain is already broken. You absolutely must demand proof of IAL3 human verification, hardware-bound keys, cryptographic tracking, real-time revocation, and a fully audit-defensible record.
As these autonomous systems rapidly become the absolute default for our critical infrastructure, it is time we secure the root. So I'll leave you with this defining question that every security leader needs to answer today. Is your organization's AI acting on unearned trust?